Hello and welcome to Wait, It Gets Better, the improvisational storytelling podcast, where every week a few friends get together after having slain dragons and saved the world from World War III, and we come and recount our adventures and write stories about it. I'm, of course, Levi.
I'm Reed.
And I'm Seth.
And we are here to tell you a story. New week, new story. I love this first episode of the New Week, New Story because it's just so much potential. What story element did you have, Reed?
Villian Sidekick.
How about you, Seth?
I had hero.
I have government type. Do you want me to go? I have some slight world building stuff.
Yeah, that'd be helpful for me. Yep.
Okay. So the world is a post-apocalyptic-esque. Basically what happened the whole world was sort of in a post-scarcity society. We had plenty of resources. We had plenty of energy. We had, advanced technology, and we had been doing really well for ourselves. So post-scarcity, there was no scarcity of resource anywhere. But some things started to change with the environment, and we're not sure if it was the beginnings of our sort of weather control, right? That was kind of our next big thing that humanity was working on, was weather control. And they're not quite sure if that's what changed it or if it was some geopolitical stuff that kind of changed it. But we sit now about 50 years post-collapse. And what we have is several hundred, closer to several thousand city-states. These are cities that are pretty self-reliant. There's some things that some cities have that others don't. But past about a mile or so, past the walls of the city, it's pretty much no man's land. There's little to no sort of cohesive system to governments anymore. Whoever was the city government kind of holds as the government. So you have, some of them have kings. There's some loose federations between them. A lot of them have specialties. Seth, I think of Chrome-Shelled Regos, right? Where you have your different cities that have sort of different, you have one city that's really high in a certain type of industry, and a different city that's really skilled at something else, the arts or whatever. And part of what keeps commerce going between the cities are the roads. So the roads are created out of a sort of a self-healing polymer concoction, right? They can last for many years without sort of receiving any maintenance, right? And getting sort of the harsh climate conditions that have been happening, acid rain and the like, they stand up very well to that. So there are buses and some trains, but if a person wants to travel between two cities, if the cities are a couple miles away from each other, it's like, okay, that's reasonable. But if they're hundreds of miles away from, you're risking running into mutants, running into bandits, running into warlords, running into whatever. Now, the roads underneath them hold complex data connections, right? So cities can talk to each other, fairly technologically advanced cities can sort of communicate with each other. But what's been happening in the last, this has been happening for 50 years. What's been happening in the last maybe 15 years is cities, something in the environment has begun breaking the roads down finally. And cities have begun going dark, right? So cue the road repairman, right? One part road warrior, one part construction worker, right? These are people who basically go out and maintain, do the treatments needed to maintain the roads. So it's one part, there's a lot of road construction up near my house recently, so that's why I've been thinking about this. One part road construction worker, one part, sawed-off shotgun wielder.
Do these roads, the way they're constructed, are they limited access? Like, what I'm saying is, can you enter or leave? Like, let's just say you had a hideout in the wilderness, can you like access these roads like between points, or
Yeah.
they're
Yeah, my thought is literally they're just like highways.
okay?
3 lanes going each direction, a median in the middle. These were the newest form of this sort of self-repairing polymer road. These are like all the major highways between cities. All other roads have pretty much sort of disintegrated and disappeared in this time. 50 years
Right.
wouldn't be quite enough time, but we'll say due to some adverse climate activity,
Right.
most of the roads have sort of disappeared and just been destroyed.
So the road repairman clan or league or
Yeah, it's a company.
Yeah, so the cities cooperate with these people, or are they extra? Are they a force like above the cities?
No, the cities. So it's in the city's best interests,
Right.
to keep them, because the cities can't provide everything themselves.
Yeah.
Some cities get really close to being able to provide everything, but then they end up being a hub of commerce. And then, if you're a hub of commerce, you have to be a hub. So you have to maintain the cities.
Each city will have their own like organization of these
Repairmen.
Right?
Yeah.
The repairmen.
Yeah, and there's 2 sections to it, right? There's the repairmen who are maintaining the roads, but then there's the even more dangerous task of following the trails along where we've lost communication with the city.
Right.
And sometimes we find the city with its own repairmen working the opposite direction and everything's fine.
Yeah. Sometimes
we find the city in flames and a warlord, who had rolled through, destroyed it,
Right.
But my brain just said there are some times where we've found like a completely empty city, and the road actually didn't. It was just the whole city was just turned off. So we thought that the road was broken, So there's strange things like that. Anyways, that's my government type. So it's a mix of however we want the city to represent itself. There's I'd say some kings have come back. There's some democracies. There's some republics. There's some parliamentarian systems. There's council, high council, elder council. Basically a gambit. But each one of them has, because you can just literally go to a different city and have a different government type. Pretty much everyone who lives in that city wants to live in that government type. If you don't want to, then you have to pay the money to get a bus ticket to move,
Okay.
And if you say, Levi, what about planes? I'd say, well, listener, I have no idea. I didn't think about that at all. Let's find some reason. Let's find
trains and automobiles.
I would say planes. Maybe there's some atmospheric influence that, charges the atmosphere and makes it difficult for planes to fly. I don't know, but
yeah, it'd strike me that would be one thing that would aid this kind of tendency toward, breaking down of the larger governmental structure and increasing isolation.
Right, yeah. Right. Anyways, that's my idea, and I have lots of ideas for hero and villain, but I don't have those. So do you guys want to step in, or should I talk more about some different ideas?
Let's Seth, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So I think the hero, the only name that was coming to mind at the moment was Ron. So his name's Ron, or that's what he goes by.
Yeah.
And he is kind of a wandering bounty hunter. Always has people kind of out to get him.
Yeah.
But, kind of, not that he has, I don't know if it would be like citizenship just about everywhere, but like there's enough important people that want him to do work that, the right people let him, into just about wherever he wants to go, city by city wise.
Right.
He's worked on, I would say maybe he's worked on some of these road crews before, but, he doesn't like doing, the work. He'll, fight off, bandits or whatever. But normally when there would be, the actual work to be done, he kind of doesn't take too much part in anything he doesn't want to do. But let's see here. He's kind of armed to the teeth, assassin, bounty hunter, tracker. The only thing is that, working on the road crews, he'd sit there and, track something down or fight, but fixing the roads isn't his, of an interest to him. He's got, kind of some kind of, code of ethics and morals that everyone kind of realizes that he has, but not sure quite what it is, because, he'll take a job, he'll start doing something, but, he could just as well turn on the employer if for some reason, whatever it is that it's winding out that, they want him to do, doesn't seem to line up with his, kind of code of ethics.
Yeah.
Which sometimes might just be, come across as selfish. Maybe that's one of his downfalls. He doesn't have to be perfect. But he just kind of likes to do what he wants to do, and does have some kind of a moral or ethic code that he follows, but he doesn't talk about it, so not too many people know the exact specifics of what it is or isn't. But he's good at what he does, and the right people want him around to get done what they want done.
Okay, cool. I like that. I was thinking about that movie The Gray, where that guy Liam Neeson was up working on the oil rigs in Alaska somewhere, and he his job was just to go and visit and travel with the people who went to repair the pipes, and just kill wolves that got too close to them. That was like his job. And I was like, that seems like what this guy. He's like, yeah, sure, I'll go and work on this, but I'm not gonna lift bags of material for 10 hours.
Well, I kind of I can jump in here with the villain sidekick. Lucius, he doesn't like Ron. He's aware of Ron, doesn't like him. Mainly because he doesn't know, he can't figure out an angle, in order to get a hook into him. Lucius is a racketeer. He is, racketeering, vice, gambling, prostitution, bribery, extortion, protection rackets. He was like one of many that probably rose up during the disintegration of old systems and, filling power vacuums. And, people still need to eat. People still need to feel secure.
Right.
They will sell their freedom for security, and he's willing to, pay. He's and he appears to be a man without emotions. Seems to be laid back, almost disinterested kind of guy. He's a big hulking guy, but when you challenge, when challenged about not listening, for example, he'll just parrot back what you had said word for word, like as far back as you want to go. He's smart and focused, but he just has this seemingly bored, disengaged demeanor. And then he'll just suddenly explode your face with it, like he's got these enormous, gnarled, knuckled fists. And he'll just lightning quick ferocity. And it's all with kind of hard, passionless, cold detachment. And it's just extremely violent when it suits his purposes. But mainly it's about running an organization to, and reap the benefits of people's weaknesses. That's hence racketeering. It's his favorite joke definition of a honest politician is once you buy him, he stays bought. He's had some run-ins with Ron, and he doesn't like him because he appears to be an honest man, which is, to Lucius, that's a contradiction in terms. It's like, what? You're not going to do this because it doesn't suit you, or, what's your angle? He just doesn't understand him. And as a result, he's his enemy. And he wants to just run kind of a quiet operation. He prefer not to, bite off more than he can chew.
Right.
But he is waiting for somebody to kind of replace the old order of things and be his lieutenant. But he's a sidekick without a villain right now. He hasn't emerged, or at least Lucius hasn't connected up with him yet.
I was thinking about, as you were talking about this, and these disparate towns, cities leads to if you like a certain government style, you can just go and be in that government style.
Yeah.
But also think about how difficult it used to be and how it really still is for like intelligence agencies between countries to communicate with each other in an efficient way.
Yeah.
Even between 3-letter agencies within the US to communicate with each other.
Right.
Was really difficult for a long time. I think my picture of the villain is like your absolute confidence man.
Okay. Yeah.
You know,
that would work.
He's just a swindler. He's just
Lucius would be completely comfortable backing a guy like that.
Yeah, he's just, and he is all about the trick of the game. He is all about the theatrics. He's all about the stuff like that, and he leaves Lucius to handle the stuff that kind of, makes him sick. That he doesn't want to have to deal with.
He doesn't want to like mar his manicure,
Right. So he says things like, Lucy, will you just take care of this? And then he just like walks away, having some vague notion that the guy's getting his skull busted in, but not actually allowing himself to like realize and say that's what's happening right now.
Or like King Henry II.
Right. Plausible deniability, and yeah, absolutely.
I thought of King Henry II of England. Will nobody rid me of this troublesome priest? Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, so that kind of guy, and he kind of makes his way between these cities, kind of working up the ladders. He has some final total goal, and I don't know what it is, but he is for sure dealing with a warlord who sort of lives outside of the city civilization system. He for sure does that. He's either helping them or he's using them in some way, I imagine our story might center around, at least partially, a sort of New Vegas style city that's all just casinos and lights, So I kind of like that as the villain, who's this sneaky, maybe he's a guy you meet like really early on.
Yeah.
He could be like a big reveal villain. So many villains, Sauron, who's the bad guy? It's Sauron,
Yeah.
But like there's so many stories where the bad guy or the big bad villain ends up being the person that like traveled with you halfway across the world.
Yeah.
Seth, did you say that Ron is a PI, a private investigator? Yeah. You said bounty hunter is what you said. Yeah. Does he think with his gun? The question is, does he think with his gun, or is he a brainiac kind of guy? It can be both. I just didn't know what his emphasis was. If he's like shoot first, think later, or if he's like, I'm gonna really spend some time and figure this out. Gotcha. Okay. So I'd like to see the story happening is that Ron meets up with someone, he has an office somewhere, maybe he has an office in every city, who knows? But anyways, so you're sort of classic, he's hanging out in the office, he's got a half empty bar of a bottle of whiskey, it's raining and there's a knock at his door at 12:01,
Yeah.
and he gets sort of this task to find, which is like the first step towards finding, either he needs to find this villain, or this is part of the con to get him involved so that they have a fall guy.
Ooh. Yeah.
Like I think about in The Sting, how they involve that one crooked cop.
Yeah.
In order to like have him be this sort of like thin line of credibility.
Right.
That might be what they're trying to get Ron to do.
Yeah. Like what was the Mark's name? Lanigan.
Yeah.
Lanigan. Yeah. Yeah. So this guy is he's an actual member of the Bunko Squad. I mean, this is the kind of guy that would be on the take, Lanigan would have on the take. I mean, he's accustomed, he's familiar with the type, right? So
right.
he's the perfect guy to be like kind of holding his hand and rushing him off,
Well, don't spoil it too much, Reed.
Oh,
People
yeah,
need
yeah,
to watch
yeah.
The Sting.
Yeah.
But regardless, I don't think Ron is, he's not a corrupted cop, but still, he is a person who has a history who could be used in a con to sort of be credible or be unintentional muscle, know? I kind of like the idea of having this be like 100 layers deep, things on top of things.
Yeah.
There's a racket by the construction crews that are repairing the roads. They're selling materials to the warlords. They're mixing the polymers with sand, so the roads aren't going to last as long, and that's going to, and there's like all of these little tiny subplots that are all kind of going out, set in the backdrop of this kind of weird dystopian, really open but really closed off societies. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Wait, It Gets Better. If you liked this episode, if you liked where we're going, I'd love to hear from you. Send us an email at getsbettercast@gmail.com or at us on Twitter at @getsbettercast. Give us your opinions. Give us your constructive criticisms. Give us your best Kermit the Frog impressions. And if you didn't like any of this content or any of the 200 plus episodes, I would say just wait. It gets better.